Hi, Crystal here from Christico Design. Today we are going to work up this crochet baby blanket. For this blanket you'll need medium worsted weight yarn and number 4 yarn. I'm using Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in linen and sea blue here, and a 5mm crochet hook. I will link up in the description all the yardage and starting chains for the different sizes you can make on this blanket. Here I'm making the baby size about 32 by 34 inches. We are going to do a foundation double crochet of 91, or an odd number of stitches if you're going to change it up. And you can also do chains to start this baby blanket if you're not comfortable with foundation stitches. So to use chains, you'll want to make one more chain than you need. And here you would make 93 and double crochet in the second chain from your hook so that you end with 91 stitches. I'm going to do the foundation double crochet, and I can link that up for you if you would like to practice. It's a wonderful way to start blankets and anything else that requires extra long chains. So it's a way of making the chains as you go. And I am not going to do a full blanket size here for you on camera, but just enough to show you the repeats. So an odd number of stitches, this is 3, but that's probably too few. I am using a 5mm hook and worsted weight yarn. The yarn I use for this baby blanket is Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn, which is a nice affordable acrylic yarn that's also a little bit soft, so it works well for baby blankets. My son has a blanket I made him, let's see, 4 years ago, and he hangs on that thing and drags it around, and it's holding up really well. Okay, so we're getting close to about as big as I want to crochet on camera. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 stitches, which is an odd number, so that will be enough for my stitch multiple. You again are working on 91 stitches for the baby blanket size, and you'll need about 925 yards of worsted weight yarn and a 5mm hook. Okay, so after I have my first row of double crochets, I'm going to turn, and you can chain 3 or use a standing stitch like I'm going to show you here. You can also link up my tutorial for that as well if you want a more in-depth. And then I'm just going to double crochet in each double crochet across. Now for my coloring, I chose a cream color. I think it was called Linen. And I'm using this beautiful sea blue as my contrast for my stripes. And of course, striping is always up to you. But this is a 4-row repeat, and so I did it change to a blue stripe on the third one, the third set of 4-row repeats, the 8th and 9th, and then on the 14th. Then I use this color in the border, which I'll show you as well. So now we have 2 rows of double crochet. We're going to turn and do 1 more row of double crochet, standing stitch to start. Alright, so here is my standing stitch that I did. So if you're doing 3 chains, your last one will go into the top of your 3rd chain. If you're doing a standing stitch, it looks like this on the side. I like them because they fill in the space there. We don't have too much gapping. Alright, now for our stitch pattern row, and this is also the row that you see in the blanket that I changed to this blue color. I'm all out of the linen color, so I am just using the blue for this tutorial. But if you're ready to change colors, you would just cut the yarn and pull it through and then join with the slip stitch here and follow the pattern like normal. You can also change yarn colors on this last yarn over. So I did the first part of my double crochet, and then I would drop the yarn, bring in the new yarn, yarn over in that and pull through. So there's a couple of ways to change colors. All right, so for our main stitch pattern row, we are going to start with a double crochet just like we've been doing, but then we're going to follow it up with a slip stitch. So we're working on the wrong side for this row, double crochet, and then in the next stitch we're going to slip stitch, which is going to bring that double crochet down, and on the opposite side, on our right side, it's going to give us that nice textured stitch that we see. Then we just alternate double crochet, slip stitch, and just keep alternating those two. You'll end with a double crochet though. Start and end with a double crochet. Slip stitch now is my last stitch, so I'm going to double crochet there, which is the next stitch in the pattern. That's why we want an odd number of stitches. Turn, and then you'll be able to see that stitch pattern pop out there, which looks really nice with the color changes and in the light colored yarn itself. Okay, so this is your 4-row repeat, 3 rows of double crochet and 1 row of double crochet slip stitch. But I'll go ahead and do one more for here so you can see me work into the double crochets and single crochets. I'll do one more set and then I'll show you how I did the border as well. So again, we're going to start with the double crochet, and this is me doing the standing stitch. You are welcome to do a chain 3 here. And then in your next stitch is a slip stitch. Now I will say my tension is fairly loose. I try not to squeeze or hold too tightly, it's just too hard on my hands. My hook helps with that. So if your slip stitches are really tight, you might have trouble working into them. So I definitely say don't crochet them super tight. Working on video also makes my tension looser because my hands are a little further away from my body than I normally crochet. All right, so this is my double crochet, right? So that's my last stitch there. Okay. Then I turn and I work another 2 more rows of double crochet, and then I'll show you how to do the border. The border I did opposites. So if I did linen, the cream color for the main body of the blanket, and I used my blue to contrast on the 3rd set and the 8th set and the 9th set, and I think it was the 14th set, just to add some pops of blue stripes in there. Then for the border, I used the blue as the main color, and I used the linen as the pop-up color for the center stitch pattern, which is the double crochet and slip stitch pattern. So that's how I would recommend changing colors there if you're doing striping. But again, I thought it looked gorgeous in just the cream color. But I had a baby boy blanket design in mind here for this one, so I wanted to do those pretty pops of blue. Okay, so that's my 3rd row here, and I would do another set. If I were just repeating the blanket, I would do another double crochet, single slip stitch pattern next. That would be your next row because it's a 4-row repeat, 3 rows of double crochet, and then that row repeat. But since I'm mimicking the end of the blanket here, I'm just going to do the 3 double crochet rows, so you want to end with 3 double crochet rows, and then we're going to turn and work in the sides of our stitches, which can be tricky, but with a little practice it's not too bad. Okay, so the best way to do a border is to add a single crochet row around, which really helps to keep every edges looking nice and even. So we'll start with a chain 1, and then I'm going to work 2 single crochets into the side of the double crochet stitches. This works generally well, is the 2 and 2 as far as single crochet into the double crochet rows. But if you find it's too loose or too tight, then you might have to change that up. My goodness, I'm just messing my yarn up there. To do, 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. Like right here on this 2nd row, I'm only going to do 1 and then I'm going to do 2 in the next double crochet row. The stitch count is not super important for the border on this one because when we get to the corners we're going to break our stitch pattern anyway. So it doesn't matter if you stop on a double crochet or slip stitch for that row when we get to the border. Okay, so now here my single crochet stitches aren't pulling in and they're not super wavy curving. So I did 2 in the first row double crochet, 1 in the second row, and 2 in the next. I'm going to do 1 in my stitch pattern row, 1 single crochet on that edge, and then 2 double crochets here. Again, this works for my tension. You may need to do 2 for each row or a different combination, but so I'm going into the edges, but I'm always going under 2 loops so that I don't pull it too stretchy. I only want stretchy when I'm making ribbing. Sorry, ribbing. All right, so that's my single crochet border on that one edge. And then I just do a chain 1 and single crochet back into the last single crochet so that on the corner stitch I have single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Then we continue. And single crochet around. I used the back bump when I did, or no, I did a foundation chain, which gives me a nice stitch looking bottom of my chain. It's easy to add a border to. I just crochet into it like a stitch. If you did chains, then you might want to go under the whole chain for ease, or 2 of the loops to really catch it. You have to kind of decide what looks best. Okay, so when I get to corners, I am adding chain 1, single crochet into the same stitch again so that I have a nice square corner there. Back onto my edges, going under 2 loops on the side of the stitches, and I was kind of alternating 2 rows of single crochet, 2 single crochets in one side row of double crochet to keep it from being too wavy for me, which means I have too many stitches. Our stitch count is not terribly important for the border, so you can do whatever looks best and works for your tension and your blanket. It's important to place them in the same spot. If I start putting them down in these holes and gaps, then they're going to be really big and come down further than the other stitches, and it pulls that hole open more. So that's one thing I tried to avoid. So even though that looks like an easy place to add a stitch, I skip it and I mash it in there under 2 loops on the side edge. And that helps keep these all even in the same place and reduce the gapping and holes. All right, so where do we start? Where are we at here? This is our last row of the blanket, the double crochet row. So we're coming to a corner. Let's make this the corner. There we go. Okay, so once we single crochet across this, we're going to join our border, and then we would change to double crochet. And we're going to do it the same way, but now it'll be nice and easy because we're just putting double crochets in each of our single crochet stitches around, and we'll do our corners the same way. Single crochet. Okay, so we started with a single, not a corner stitch. So we're going to add our corner here and slip stitch it to that first one. If you were changing colors or something, this is where you would do it. You just pull through, cut your yarn, and then join it again. Okay, so next round is double crochet, and you can, if you're joining colors, you can do it anywhere. I'm just going to continue where I am using my double crochet alternative, and double crochet down in each stitch, and then in the chain 1 spaces that we made on our corners, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, I will do a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in that same chain space to keep the corner pattern. Now the row after this will be our stitch pattern row, and the one I changed to contrasting color for the border. All right, so we're single, chain, single for our corner. So in this chain space here, we're going to add, I don't think I went in the right spot. Yarn over for my double crochet. Chain one, double crochet. Okay, so just continue that around. Double crochet, add your corner stitches, double crochet, add your corner, double crochet, chain one, double crochet, and back here. And I'll show you how we're joining and everything here. And then we will continue with our stitch pattern for the next round of your border. So we can finish up this baby blanket pattern. Okay, so I'm back around for my double crochet border row round. Just did regular double crochets in each single crochet, and in the corner chain one spaces, double crochet, chain one, double crochet. So here we're back at the single crochet corner. I've got a single crochet, chain one, single crochet. So in this last chain one space, I'm placing my double crochet, chain one, double crochet to get us around the corner. And then I have the single crochet that's after that to join to my first stitch of the double crochet round there with the slip stitch. And that gets us all the way around and ready for our stitch pattern. Okay, so now we're doing an alternating, and for the alternating double crochet slip stitch around. But when we get to the corners, we're going to go ahead and do another double crochet, chain one, double crochet to keep those corners straight. So it doesn't really matter if we start or stop with a double crochet or a slip stitch, because with the two stitches it's just going to break the pattern anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the yarn because I need to not start like 3 stitches in. So what you can do if you are using a same color like me is just turn and slip stitch back where you need to go. If you're changing colors, you cut the yarn and then you join it. You still need to turn for this round because if you'll remember for our stitch texture here, we had to be on the wrong side. We don't need to worry about that for the other rounds, but for this one we do. So cut your yarn and turn, join it in the corner or the first stitch of a set. I'm going to turn and slip stitch, and I'll just start here in that spot. So I'm going to slip stitch over so I don't have to cut. Right, and in our first corner we're going to place a double crochet using my stitch alternative, chain one, double crochet. That's my first corner this time. Okay, now for my stitch pattern, I can start with a slip stitch or double crochet. We'll just start with a double crochet since that's how we did it in our pattern. Pull it down with our slip stitch, double crochet, slip stitch, and keep repeating that across till your next chain one space, your next corner space. Now again, the important part of working this as the border is that you're on the wrong side of the blanket. So you might have to slip stitch like I did or cut and join your yarn. All right, so that was my last stitch there. You may end with a slip stitch here, that's okay. In our chain one space, we're doing a double crochet, chain one, double crochet. Now the first double crochet out of that, I am going to place a double crochet. And I'll just keep that consistent as what I start with. Slip stitch, double crochet down to the next, chain one space corner, and just keep repeating it like that. So here on this one, I'm going to end on a slip stitch. Again, that's okay because with the 2 stitches, it's virtually impossible. In the chain one space, I put 1 double crochet, chain one, double crochet again, And I'll start again with my double crochet, slip stitch around. So keep going around. You can see on the right side how nice that's looking, and then I'll meet you back at the ending join there. All right, I am back around now. I have done my double crochet slip stitch around and put double crochet, chain one, double crochet in each corner. Now I'm back around to my first corner. I ended with the slip stitch there, so I can join here. And then my last row, my last round is just a simple double crochet round to finish off the blanket. So I can turn and work on the right side again, or if you prefer to just continue where you are, you can do that. Wrong side, right side of double crochets don't look terribly different. But since this is the only round we needed to turn on, you can go ahead and turn back around on the right side. And let's see, we're going to starting in the stitch after our corner, so we're just going to start with a double crochet. And if you are doing the color changes for the border, again I'm just doing the tutorial in a solid color, you would change colors again here back to your main color, and the contrast color is this last row we did. But for the border, or for the tutorial, I'm just keeping the same color pattern. So now we're just going to follow the same we've been doing, double crochet into each slip stitch and double crochet stitch. You might have to turn it a little to be able to see that you're putting in the right spot. And in each corner you do a chain, a double crochet and a chain one and a double crochet. And that's it. For the last round of the border, you're going to do another round of single crochet, and you follow the same pattern of putting the single crochet, chain one single crochet in each corner. But you're working stitches into stitches now, so it's not difficult. That first round of single crochet in the edges and stuff, getting it set is a little bit tricky, but from now it's easy peasy. I hope you enjoyed this pattern and tutorial. Please visit my website, christacodesign.com, for more.